Elix Skipper versus Christopher Daniels is your pay-per-view match, and that stems off of the Ultimate X match from Destination X, if you remember, when that got down to a triple threat match. Triple X teamed up on Styles, but then Daniels turned on Skipper, eliminated him from the match, setting this match in motion.
A good swerve, to be honest. I mean, not a swerve, I guess, but like a swerve within character, not as actually trying to swerve the audience.
And I appreciate that it's not just a thing they did for the sake of that match, it's actually a thing they then brought forward to this pay-per-view match.
Actually, a rare bit of good Dusty booking in this match, not Dusty booking, but Dusty booking, is that, it does set up your first challenger for Daniels to be Elix, so you also get the tag stuff. I think this is this is the perfect first challenger for Daniels.
Yeah, because it's a guy he has history with. It plays off their biggest pay-per-view match.
A guy he can beat easily.
Yeah, a guy he can beat. A guy that you have a built-in story with, so Daniels isn't just going out there and wrestling Chris Sabin.
A good bit of booking. In the X Division, no less.
March 18th opens with Christopher Daniels wrestling Jarrell Clark. It's the opener of that show. X Division title has gone to Daniels' head as he slaps Clark before the bell, which I kind of liked.
I was also going to say, we're continuing the thread of the first match post-pay-per-view being Christopher Daniels.
Yeah, he has a belt now. He has to show it off.
They love throwing Daniels or Skipper out as the first match post-pay-per-view.
Yeah, they're really the palate cleansers post-pay-per-view.
Yeah. I was very proud of myself that as Jarrell Clark made his entrance, I recognized him before they showed his face.
What do you mean?
I went, hey, that's Jarrell Clark.
Like you recognize his entrance theme?
I recognized his theme, and I recognized him as from because they do the tunnel shot.
Ah, right.
And I was like, that's Jarrell Clark.
You know that man's silhouette.
Mm-hmm. I'm a real TNA guy now.
We could do like the Who's That Pokemon, but with TNA wrestlers, and you'll fucking ace it.
Do that, but with their tunnel shots. That's a fun game, actually.
Daniels hit a split leg moonsault, but got off the pin on one and hit an Angel's Wings to pin Clark. I like the way that he's X Division champion now. It really is he's a real bitch about it.
Yeah, he's again. Okay, I guess we can kind of talk about here about how I feel there's somewhat of a disconnect between his presentation and his character. We talked about it on the watch along, but I kind of had a bigger realization this month of how I feel like there's a disconnect between Daniel's look and Daniel's character. He still does the Fallen Angel thing, and he has the cool entrance gear and the tights that have the unk on the side. And I was wondering, I was like, it doesn't really suit his character who he is. He's not like an actual spooky guy. He's more of just a veteran wrestler who's cocky and who is the smartest man in the ring. And it came to my realization, he's doing the ring. He does the ring general thing now, and I think that's kind of more of an appropriate thing for what he was doing back here. I was like, I wonder why he stuck to it so thoroughly, and it's just because it's a cool aesthetic. That has to be the answer. Is he's not actually doing anything spooky, but the Fallen Angel is a really cool nickname. He has great Marilyn Manson knockoff music, and he's got really cool entrance gear. So why not keep it as your aesthetic, even if it doesn't necessarily mesh with the wrestling?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where when he was a wee young wrestler, he was like, this is all a cool act. This is who I can be.
If he was yachting, he was yachting doing this.
And then as he got older and developed into who he was, and he was always the old man of the indie scene. He was always the old head, the guy who's been around forever in 2002. The guy with experience, the guy who was the ring general, which is ultimately what his character kind of became. He still kept the aesthetic, kept the Fallen Angel stuff, because that was who he was, even though his character kind of developed and moved on from that. So there is that aesthetic disconnect versus as you said, he doesn't do anything spooky. And there's times in TNA where they try to make the Fallen Angel thing his actual character, and it sucked. There was that time where he did it post Triple X split the first time when they were doing his first little singles push, and he did that stuff with Jarrett.
I just remembered the fucking turn.
Yeah, and he was doing all the bad stuff with Jarrett. And then in 2007, they tried it again a little bit where
they gave him the eye face paint thing.
Yeah, and he was looking up to get a message from God before he'd do stuff, and that sucked too. So anytime he did lean into that as part of his character, at least in TNA, it didn't work.
I think it worked when he was in ROH because he was kind of still doing what he was doing here, but he was also a creepy cult leader who was brainwashing people who weren't as smart as him.
Whereas you had James Mitchell doing that immediately in TNA.
Yeah. It always felt like the plan was to put him with Mitchell, and they just never quite got around to it.
Yeah, we did talk about that. That was like one of the original pitches for the new church, that Daniels would be in it when he debuted, and it just never happened. And then, fair enough, Mitchell hasn't been on the show in 2 years at this stage, but a year and a half.
Which it feels like every week we're like, oh, this is going to be the one where Mitchell comes up.
But yeah, so Daniel's not the spook man. Now he's just the super confident man. And actually, he's fucking great.
Yeah.
He is so good on these shows.
He's become like a real highlight for someone that, like we were talking about before, had a stretch as a singles wrestler where he was disappointing whenever he was doing matches. But now he kind of feels like he's rolling with it and he's gained the confidence and the matches are hitting better and the talking's always been on point. But now it's all sort of wrapping up into a nice little package.
Because we were talking about, he's probably the biggest success of Dusty's run. And that when we look at where he was when he was starting, which was like a kind of bad babyface Triple X run. Then they had the big split match, and then Daniels like really found himself in that AJ stuff, where it's weird. Like they just shoved him on commentary every week, and he was great. He's like really good. He's really like quick witted. He's really funny and clever, and he like knows how to spin every little thing Mike Tenay and Don West throw at him into a thing where he's like, "Well, I did this. Well, oh, that's a conspiracy against me, Mike Tenay." He's really good at that. So he's always on commentary, and it's always a joy when he is.
He should put him on ROH. With Caprice and Ian.
Yeah. So Daniels gloats about finally winning the title after the match, points out all the titles Skipper, Styles, and Killings had between them. Those were his opponents in Ultimate X. It's like all these NWA titles and all tag titles and all X Division titles they had between them. And I beat them all! And Skipper comes out and he's like, I know you, Daniels. Mr. TNA? And just leaves.
Owned.
It's very good, it's just completely dismissive of Christopher Daniels. So April 1st Impact had a long feature running down the history of Christopher Daniels and Elix Skipper. It was like all their tag team history, them coming together, them breaking up, them coming back together, them...
I liked it.
Breaking up. I thought it was great. It had one fatal flaw. Did you notice what it was, Liam?
Well, the thing that I noticed, so maybe it was the same thing that you noticed, was when they first showed them teaming, with the idea that this was when they had first formed, they were using footage of when they were in a 6-sided ring.
Yeah.
Is that what you were talking about?
No, it had a much more fatal flaw that you seem not to have noticed.
That there was no Loki?
Nope, not even that. This feature ended with a plug for a Christopher Daniels versus Elix Skipper X Division title match at Lockdown. Liam, what was the main event of this show?
Oh, they were going to determine that fact.
They accidentally spoiled the finish of their TV main event in this video package.
Well, now I look like a curmudgeon because I look like I've really picked apart the video.
Yeah, it's like all these different flaws in the video. It's like, no, you missed the big one in that they accidentally announced Skipper was number one contender before he became number one contender.
I thought you were going to be on their back about them using the 6-sided ring footage like I was.
That's not original Triple X.
Because after that, they swapped to talking about the tag match, and the tag match was in the 4-sided ring, and I was like, it's disconnected. No continuity.
But yeah, that's a pretty big.
That's a pretty egregious one.
That's a terrible continuity error. Come on, how does nobody catch that? Actually, you know what the worst part is? This is the 3rd Impact of a 3-Impact taping.
Yeah, you can tell because there's 2 matches on the card.
Yeah, but this would have been in the can for 2 weeks.
Hence why they had the ad made.
It would be one thing if it was like a tight turnaround, they taped it this week, it's airing Friday. So, they made a mistake, something slipped through. But it's like, no, they taped this weeks ago and it still fucked it up. But that did lead us to our main event. Elix Skipper, Chris Sabin, Michael Shane, and Petey Williams in a X Division shootout to determine the number one contender for Christopher Daniels at Lockdown. It's elimination rules, has a special 30-minute time limit, of which they go 21.
They sure do.
It's a real honest-to-goodness TV main event.
That being said, it's not as good as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think this is the match where I was talking about, where if they shot this match on an Impact where they were just taping one Impact, I think the crowd would be much more engaged. But given this is the last match of a 3-Impact block, the crowd are just they're not into it, but they're not super into it.
They should have filmed this on the first taping set, but then put it in on the 3rd.
Because, yeah, God forbid you ruin the pop that America's Most Wanted versus Fight Delta Slam gets.
Yeah.
Don't want to sabotage that match. Daniels is on commentary for the entire match, and I think he's great. He does a bunch of...
He's a joy.
Of little things where, when Petey was eliminated after he got super kicked, Daniels was like, damn, I really wanted to face Petey. He was my pick. Oh, God.
I liked throughout the match, he's like, oh man, I think Michael's really great and he could win. I think Petey's really great and he could win. Sabin, tremendous athlete. He mentioned those three, but then wouldn't talk about Elix at all.
He's not in the match.
He put over everyone else and then just would be silent about Elix Skipper.
Yeah, so they were about to go to break, and then they did a bunch of dives. And then we were told that dive sequence was sponsored by The Right to Bear Arms by Larry the Cable Guy.
I rolled my eyes so hard when this happened. You have no idea.
You didn't listen immediately to The Right to Bear Arms, Larry the Cable Guy's comedy album?
You didn't get her done?
Oh.
Alright, Garrett. Listen to it and review it for the show.
No. If we gain 10 new patrons between now and the next episode going up, I will review Larry the Cable Guy's Right to Bear Arms.
Oh my god, that's like actually something that might happen.
Let me check. I will tell you the exact number of patrons. We're on 65 patrons right now.
If we get to 75, Garrett will do it.
If we get to 75 by the day the Hard Justice episode airs, you will get a Patreon review of The Right to Bear Arms by Larry the Cable Guy.
From Garrett.
Just me, apparently, not Liam.
No.
Michael Shane is Michael Shane again, by the way.
Michael Shane again.
So he went from Michael Shane to Michael to Matt Bentley back to Michael Shane. Apparently, they had Bob Riley look through the trademarks, and he's like, actually, no, it won't hold up. Given the fact he ends up being called Matt Bentley, I think they were wrong.
Bob Riley's really fucking it up for everyone.
So PD went for the Canadian Destroyer. Shane super kicked him and eliminated him. Daniel says it was PD he relaunched the face. Skipper eliminated Shane with a sudden death, and it came down to Skipper and Sabin, which ended with a phenomenal sequence where Sabin went for like a tilt-a-whirl DDT thing, but Skipper immediately smoothly countered it into the sudden death for the win.
It looked so cool.
It was like so fast. They did it so quick. It was awesome.
If Elix Skipper's thing became hitting the sudden death out of wacky X Division shit, I would be very into it.
Oh, Skipper did a cactus clothesline in this match as well and landed on his feet, which rocked too.
He's a hell of an athlete.
He is very good. He is very athletic. Skipper and Daniel stared each other down at the announce table, because that will be, as revealed earlier in the show, your X Division title match at Lockdown. April 8th, a backstage segment. Skipper was just talking to a dude and Daniels walked up. He was like, "You really want this match, Elix?" And Skipper's like, "Yeah, I want this match." It's like, even in a cage? Remember last time we were in a cage? You got pinned last time we were in a cage. He's like, "Yeah, I still want the match." And I was like, you know I'm better than you, right? Still, sure? I was the good guy in Triple X. You know that, okay? Yeah? And Skipper's like, "Yeah, I want the match." He starts poking him. It's like, you really want the match?
Oh, when he was poking him, it like made me angry for him. I was like, don't you fucking poke me.
Whereas Skipper maintained his cool. He did not rise to Daniel's taunts.
I would have risen.
Like the fallen angel.
Yep. Well, he would have fell. He fell. He didn't rise.
And then Daniels is like, "Oh, you want it so bad? Why don't we do it right now?" And Skipper's like, "Nah, wait till Lockdown." And once again, it's like, Mr. TNA.
It's pretty good. Also, Sabin beat Michael Shane on this show.
Oh yeah, because we are also building to the X Division Escape match. So most of the people who lost the shootout have been moved into the Escape match, except PD. So Sabin and Shane move into that match alongside, as announced originally, Shocker and Kid Cash. And they will face in an Escape match
Shocker.
to determine the next contender for Hard Justice.
Shocker.
Shocker. So April 15th, Christopher Daniels defeats Mikey Batts. Elix Skipper and Dusty Rhodes' Book have joined commentary.
Of course.
There is a bunch of product placement for Dusty's book. I hope he paid for that.
Garrett's book review of Dusty Rhodes' book coming at 85 patrons.
It's all work for me, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to do it. That's why. You know what, guys? 95 patrons. I'll review the latest Gleet for you.
Oh, Liam will watch the thing he likes, huh?
Yeah.
So ref has bumped. Bats hits the Bats beater, which is kind of like the Rey Mysterio stunner gimmick. Bats goes for the pin. Skipper runs in and counts the 3, but then Daniels boots Skipper out of the ring, hits an Angel's Wings on Bats and wins.
Skipper should know that that's not how that works.
No, he's a licensed official.
Prove it.
You prove he isn't.
Guilty until proven innocent.
You can actually say the fact that the match wasn't awarded to Mikey Batts is a sign he's not a licensed official. But
yeah, so the fact that the match wasn't awarded to Mikey Batts is a sign that he's an illegal official.
Damn.
Got him.
But yeah, the gimmick is that Skipper counted him down. They didn't really do anything with this. It's like an angle that they kind of did.
It was mostly just to embarrass him.
There was no follow up on it. There was nothing like that. It's just an angle they did. Go Home Show had a package with Daniels. He had a new promo talking about how great he is, how he's an ideal that young people can live up to as X Division champion. And they also ran down the top 5 cage match moments in TNA history. Surprise! Skipper Cage Walk was number 1.
Did you agree with this top 5?
Oh, so yeah, the top 5 was Chase Stevens' moonsault, which I think should have been higher than 5.
That would have been my number, like, 2.
A Tower of Doom spot from Turning Point, which, okay. The death sentence off the cage from the first NWXXX match, which did rock.
That'd be my number 3.
The funniest one being Hardy missing a swanton on the Best Damn Sports show.
My God.
The number 2 moment in a cage match in TNA history. Not AJ Styles beating Jeff Jarrett for the NWA title. Let's leave that one out.
No, it has to be a move, Garrett.
But it's a moment. That's a moment.
It has to be a move.
AJ Styles inzaguriing the guitar then.
Yeah, right.
No, it's Hardy missing a swanton. But yeah, that takes us lockdown in a match that was pretty well built and then ended up being kind of disappointing. Daniels defeated Skipper to retain the X Division title.
Yeah, this wasn't great. It was just kind of dull, kind of there. They worked the wrong kind of match, I feel. They tried to do like we're gonna work body parts in this cage match, slow it down. And they probably should have just gone out there and tried to bang it out in 10. I appreciated all the Loki references throughout this. Mm-hmm. They did a bunch of Loki poses and kicks and stuff.
No, they were pretty obvious.
Fuck you.
Thank you.
But I've lost my train of thoughts. Yeah, it was a regular ass match. It didn't do a lot for me.
It did kind of expose, like, everyone's always like, why wasn't Elix Skipper pushed? And I think it turns out he was just a much better tag team wrestler. Though he did have that match against Sanjay that kind of rocked at the start of the year. But he just never hit it as a singles guy. And it's unfortunate because he has like some of the parts and he's pretty charismatic, but he's just not that interesting as a wrestler.
Yeah.
Unless he's doing cage walks. Though he did do the cage walk and he's immortalized forever.
Feats of athleticism. He's bread and butter.
Yeah, it will be my personal mission to make sure that Elix Skipper is immortalized until I die. So, when I die, I can't make any promises. But until I die, I will keep Elix Skipper's name alive.
Garrett. Eventually, with the heat death of the universe will erase all human history and nothing will matter. So.
Or I'll just program the AI of me to continue to keep Elix Skipper's name alive.
Till all the servers are melted by the heat death of the universe.
Ah, yes.